Hi everyone, welcome again to the show. I'm Irene, in case you're watching for the first time, and this is Patricia and Claire. And we have a special guest today called Maggie. Maggie, you're most welcome to the show.
You're welcome, Maggie.
Maggie is a mother of 3 boys, just like me. We have so much in common with Maggie. She's a mother of boys, and she's going to tell us about herself. So, Maggie, you're most welcome. Can you give a brief introduction to our viewers?
Thank you, and thank you for hosting me today. I've known you girls at different stages. I'm Maggie Musekura, a mother of 3 and a wife, and Sean, our firstborn, has autism, has been living with autism, and he's at the high end of the spectrum. He's non-verbal, but we are happy, and we've looked after him. He's been part of us. Now he's the one who's actually taking care of us.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes. And his 2 brothers, they've just come back from Australia, where they've been studying. One is working, one is looking for work. So Sean is 28. There's Ntari, who's 26, and Dylan, the last one, is 22.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
And we're happy to have them back in Uganda.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Thank you, Maggie. She's given a very simple introduction, but as we get to talk to her, we'll know that she's not that simple.
Yeah,
she's more than
exactly.
that. So you've heard her say she has a 28-year-old. Sean is 28.
Yes, he is.
And he's been living with autism for
Right.
28 years. Wow. We promised you would bring guests with experience and different experiences, and Maggie here has a breadth and a depth of experience. So today, Maggie, we would especially want to tap into, because on the show, the ladies and I have spoken mostly about the earlier years.
Right.
But we now want to bridge, because we get comments. What about the teenage years? And now you have even a young adult, yes? So we would want to understand. We won't jump, but we want you to focus on that.
Right.
The teenage years, what it was like, and now as a young adult.
Yes.
But we won't steal the light. Just tell us your journey with him. How did you first find out that he's autistic? When was he diagnosed?
Right.
What did you do? And then we'll dive into the teenage years in more depth, yes?
Okay. So Sean was born in Australia, 1995, and when he was 2 years old, we noticed that he kept getting close to the TV,
Okay.
and that showed us that there's something probably wrong with his hearing. So we took him to a doctor, and they did all the sound tests, and they actually realized that his hearing was bad. So they inserted grommets into his ears, dissolvable grommets. Then after he improved a bit. He started gaining speech, like all kids, daddy, mommy, and those few words. Then when he was about 3 years old, we moved back to Uganda.
Okay.
As he picked speech, he would keep regressing. He was at a nursery school. He started picking rocks, eating rocks, and the few words he had disappeared. And he started acting strange. We could see that he was not normal. Then it took one of my relatives to come from the US, and we had a New Year's party at home.
Right.
And she observed this little boy for the whole afternoon.
Yes.
Then after a few hours, she called me and said, "Have you ever heard of autism?" I said, "In passing, but I've never really taken care."
To figure it out. To
She
wonder.
said, "My friend has a son who behaves exactly like your son, and he has autism." I think you should explore that. I said, yeah, I've been noticing he's weird, he's not improving. People said maybe they check
The tongue,
Tongue.
for a tongue
thing.
tie, yes.
Tongue tie.
Tongue
We
tie.
all told
yeah.
that.
Anyway, to keep it brief, we took him to the famous pediatrician, Dr. Biarugaba, and he said, you know, Maggie, there isn't much they can do for you in Mulago, but since you have a sister in South Africa, and I know you can afford to take this boy there, they'll diagnose it. I don't want to conclude, but I suspect he has autism.
Okay.
And you see, that time there's no Google or anything. So
No, yes. So it's around 98.
Yeah,
I'm doing the
yeah.
maths, 98, 99.
So yeah, so indeed I called my sister, and she's a doctor, and she was working in one of the hospitals in Joburg, and she booked us an appointment. 2 weeks later we were in Joburg, and we spent the whole day taking
Assessments,
him through assessments, seeing different therapists. Then the next day they sat as a panel and they drew up a report, and the conclusion was Sean had autism, and not just autism, but he was at the high end of the spectrum. So we started inquiring about schools in South Africa, because we knew there's nothing in Uganda, and we were told they only consider, actually, South Africans, they take priority. There were only one school in Cape Town, one school in Joburg, and none of them were boarding schools. So to keep it short, then now I had to go back with 3 children because my husband had already established some business here. So I went back for 5 years.
Back where? To Australia?
Back to Australia to take him to school.
Okay. So South Africa, they wouldn't take him.
They wouldn't take him. They really, because the demand was, and that time autism was new. So they would first consider South Africans,
the home,
before they take in foreigners. And then they gave us a 3-year waiting list.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
They said they could
And
only
all
put
this
him
time,
Yeah.
the
And all
3
this
years, what
time,
are you
yeah.
What are you
doing?
doing? Yes.
So our only option was to go back. We looked for a school, and there it was, 120 students, and it was all autism. But everybody was still learning about this autism thing.
Yes.
And for the 5 years, I noticed even an 18-year-old is behaving like Sean, who was 7 years. And as getting also a bit depressed, taking care of 3 kids.
boys.
And his siblings were not coping with this autism thing because he was breaking windows, pulling curtains, tearing nets, and we were renting. So the home was not us, we were renting. So it got to a point where after 5 years, we kept coming back for Christmas, but every time we came, I did feel like going back because it was getting more
Harder.
Taking care of 3 kids. And you're on your own, really. There's no other family member. There's no
support.
auntie, cousin, no support, no husband. So it wasn't pleasant being there. And so we decided, God has given us this kid. Let's go back home and figure it out. And after 5 years, we came back. Yeah.
Wow.
And what was that like for you when you came back?
Now, when we came back, the good thing, I joined a group which some of the parents are Abraham Owino, there's Mr. Kanakulia and Miriam, and a few others. And they had already started a group.
How did you
So
find
the
out about
support
them?
From the school, which I was told to go to, which was in Mengo, Pasnik. It still exists,
Yes,
but
it
now
does.
has moved to Kajaja.
Ah.
So there's Patty Square was running a school. So I went there and found those parents there because their kids were there and they had already started a group. So I came with the knowledge I had.
That you had acquired in those
that I
5 years.
Now, the problem is when I got here, we didn't continue with this, like the PECs. I think
Picture
you're all
exchange,
partners.
yes.
Picture exchange.
Yes.
And I urge all parents to really go hard on that. It helps for us who have non-verbal
True.
Now the problem with Sean, he associated PECs with school. So at home we didn't concentrate on it or push it hard because he could reach everything he needed.
Yes.
But later in life, we've learned that. Well, I think I'm skipping.
No, it's fine. No, you're okay.
No, it's
fine. It's just fine.
The reason I see PECs, we never thought about him communicating pain, for example, emotions.
Yes.
That's where it helps. We are trying to teach him, but it's a bit late. But he's trying to show us in his own way. Like for a headache, he'll pour water. He'll go to the sink and pour water from the tap. Then you know that he has a headache. Now, when he has a tummy ache, it's a different story. But now we realize he gets very aggressive, and he's out. He doesn't want to go to school. He doesn't want anything. Then that's how we even learned that he had ulcers, because he just went crazy out of the blue. But yet he couldn't touch his tummy, and we're trying to teach him. Please teach your children those who have non-verbal children, because that's the hardest.
Yeah.
And they took all sorts of tests before they concluded that he had ulcers.
So maybe just to say PECS, for those who don't know, in full is picture exchange communication system. I think the S is that here. So PECS is where you get pictures and try to build communication. I think maybe I'll just build on from that. Allow me. Most parents in the early years focus on verbal, oral production of trying to get their children to talk. But the biggest thing is communication, and there are many ways of communicating. And so what Margaret, I think what you're saying, which is true, which we encourage, is let the child be able to communicate. And emotions is one of those things that are difficult. Even us who are verbal, you don't sometimes know how to express it. So showing them happy, sad, sick, hungry even, so that they can use pictures to communicate. So it's very important. Toilet, yes. And I think it doesn't even have to be, because I think back in the day there were particular cards you had to get and use. But now we can create our own. We have a lot of that are applicable to our environment. Take pictures around the house.
But now, like him, he uses items in the house because he's at home. When I tell him, go and call your dad to come for lunch, he'll pick up a knife and go to the bedroom and show it to him, and he'll know it's lunchtime.
Wow. That's interesting.
If he wants to for bathing and dressing, he uses his deo. So he uses items.
I think also because now he knows that you respond in a consistent way to that particular tool. He's also relying on it. Like he knows that when I take this, they're like, if I take this to my dad, he'll come down for lunch. If I show them the deodorant, then they'll know that it's that I want to. So that's also shower, quite interesting.
And that's full communication, that you intention and it's received and you get a response. And that's what we want.
That's why I say that picture PECS thing is really, really important. And the feelings. We have to start when they're young, so that there's a video that actually was on our loop, and that was also an adult being taught how to communicate
emotions and feelings.
Emotions is very, very important.
I think it also helps with aggression. I'm convinced that one of the reasons why children on the spectrum experience a lot of like fits of aggression and stuff is because of their failure to communicate what's happening with them. Because like you've said, and I think it's really important, you've now realized that when he's very frustrated, if he like gets aggressive and stuff, he could possibly have a tummy ache and stuff. So you can imagine how frustrating it must be for them when they're trying to find a way to explain or communicate to you that this is happening to them, and they have no way of doing it. So I suppose just like you've done with the deo and the knife and the plates and stuff, like it's important yes, PECS is definitely the easiest way to go, but I think the spirit in all of this is that help them also be able to communicate whatever it is
that's going on,
and give them like tools that they can rely on to explain to you that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think this touches a lot on the non-verbal communication, because many times people think communication is speaking.
Yes.
But it is through other ways, or your actions, or whatever it is, that how is somebody registering the message.
And we are lucky in that because of that intervention of the grommets, he hears perfectly. And he even understands Ruchiga more than his siblings.
Oh, wow.
He does. Because from time to time we all talk to him in Ruchiga. All the people who help us at home are Bachiga, so they talk to him in Ruchiga and he understands it, and they send him for things in Ruchiga and he will respond and bring them. Go and bring me a plate in Ruchiga and go and, you know.
Because ultimately what is language, right?
Exactly. So he understands it more than his siblings do, and they feel bad. I mean, they've been we never talk to them, but he has learned.
Because he's been here.
Through his own
been
effort.
around.
You know, and we are happy about that. So when we talk of from teenage, we have to touch about masturbation. Masturbation. Now they're different. The way we've handled it, we first fought him. Then he would get aggressive when we left him, because for some kids they do it in the sitting room, you know,
in the open.
But he does it privately in his room. He even closes the door. So we wondered how long we would continue fighting this, and he doesn't do it often. I think it depends even on the period, maybe whether rainy season, or especially when he's bored, actually during holidays. That's when it comes. When school time, you never see him. Because he comes home when he's tired, he just takes a rest, continues with the rest of the evening, dinner, it's time to sleep. So really it's during...
When he's bored, downtimes, let's call them downtime.
But we decided as a family, instead of fighting him, to let him be, because it's hormones. What do you do? How long can you fight him for? Because he started when he was about 17. You know. So I don't know what you ladies think about it. I don't know.
How did you know?
Very simple. He just gets on. He uses a pillow.
No. Take me back in time to this little boy of yours who has grown and now will even reach the level of masturbation. How was that transition? Was it just like one day it just happened?
I just happened to be passing by his room and I saw him with a pillow. I said, hey, what's happening here? So I told the dad. Dad didn't know what to say, and
I can imagine.
No, man, he didn't know what to say, really.
Yes.
And we left it at that, and it continued. We said now then, and I started kind of shouting at him and all that. So when I would shout him, he'd be aggressive. So he started closing the door, and we just let him be. But when it would be school time, you'd never see anything.
I have so many questions.
I have so many questions.
So I think, a parent might be there thinking, and I've also thought that, we have to be open with each other. Yes, it also happens sometimes with my son. And at first I was hitting myself so hard, saying maybe I've exposed this boy to certain content that he shouldn't be seeing. How do they learn about this? But I think from what you're saying, it comes
Sean
naturally.
Doesn't watch TV, so he wouldn't have seen it anyway.
Yes. It comes naturally. That puberty that they're going through.
Yes, it sets in.
You see them just noticing a body change, and they get confused. They're also confused, by the way.
And you see, I used to share him on his own accord, he stopped. He refused.
Oh, at what point did he?
When he started doing all that now,
Masturbating.
because he brings the deal for you to help him to share.
Yes.
So he started taking it to the house help, the
Yes.
young man who is like his best friend now, because he's been with us for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So he stopped. He doesn't
You
want
finally realized you are different.
Yes. He
So you
doesn't
were-
want the
so from
mother
11
to see him.
So from like 11, because you said he was 17 when you first noticed he was
Yes,
doing this.
yes.
So up to that point, you were bathing him yourself,
Yes.
and he was okay
He
with
was
it.
okay with it. And then he stopped.
The innocence.
The innocence left him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I think he started saying, why should my mother see me naked?
Yeah.
And yet
So nobody had to tell him. It sort of
and
formed.
we've tried to help him
Yes.
do the sharing himself.
Yes.
Okay, it takes forever, but because he got used to the help, I think on our part we are the ones who didn't train him properly. So he still refuses. He still pull this guy to come and help him. But now with clothing now, we just put the clothes there and he dresses himself because we're doing all that for him. But now he does it himself. So he's learning a lot. But the amazing thing, he organizes all of us at 6:30 a.m. sharp, and all the time is here. He'll come and get the keys to open the house so that
Wow.
the lady comes in. Then she'll get all the fruits that are needed for a fruit salad and all, and put everything there
Lay it out.
and lay the table for breakfast for everybody. He does all the laying out, and then he gets takes it to the guy to come and help him with the ready to go to school. And at 9 sharp, he gets his bag, goes to the car, and they go to school. At
Clockwork,
break time, he's the
Timekeeper,
timekeeper
basically.
at
Yes,
school.
yes.
Wow.
So
And
this thing
everything
is
is on time.
It will always be the same
even
time.
at home.
Yes.
When we eat at 1, but if it's like 1:10 and nobody has shown any signs that there's that, he'll get his plate and go to the kitchen.
I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, to show everybody that we are running late.
So basically structure. We've
He's
talked about
very
that.
structured.
We've talked about
That's
that
why
for autism structure.
If he was to get a job, it would have to be like in a supermarket to
Yes.
organize things.
And that's what we're looking at. He can't be in school forever, so we are looking at such things.
Okay.
I think you've equipped him really well. I want you to know you inspired me, by the way. I remember when you told me, because we've had a conversation before, and I remember when you told me that he wakes up in the morning, opens, I said, hey, by the way, I think I need to start giving this
opens the
gentleman some
curtains
tasks.
and
responsibility.
and he enjoys it.
Yes.
And on the weekend when he's not at school and this girl is doing the cooking, she keeps sending him to the fridge. Bring me tomatoes. And he knows every item. He never goes wrong. He'll bring every item, whether it's salt, what. So he's a sous chef.
I
He's a
know.
sous chef.
Yeah.
She cooks throughout, and they're cooking together and they are conversing. She's talking to him. That's how he learned his Ruchiga, because the girl is talking to him, and
You know this should be a
and
message.
he does sweeping leaves, like leaves
Yeah.
on the veranda, because we've got a lot of trees, as you saw.
Yeah.
So he's always
He adds so much value to
Oh,
I
yes,
us.
know.
he does.
I feel this is a message to employers. These might be the better employees
Yes.
to have.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, if I had a relative with a supermarket, I would take him every weekend
Yes.
to at least to do
To
the
stock shelves and
to
all
stock
that.
shelves. But it doesn't have to be a relative. If one
I
gets
know.
somebody
Yes,
who
yeah.
understands, it doesn't take a relative, really. They should be employed.
Yeah.
They're good at such things.
They are good. They'll not cause so many
We're
problems.
saying even in a restaurant, he would make a good, in restaurants, because I'm a hotelier, we call them like bus boys,
Make
whereby they
cleaning
do
up.
the cleaning up and clearing.
After clearing
Yes.
the tables. Yeah.
Now, the problem here, he would go
And get
like
someone-
finishing off the
Yeah, I've thought about that too. in my quest for future jobs. I've
No,
thought
but I
about
think-
that.
I think
And
if you
did
guide
some
them over
training,
time,
because he might
yes.
even bring, since he
Before.
loves chicken so much, he might decide that one of the two pieces
Just stay
are
behind.
his. It's for sharing.
But you know what, Maggie? I think that you underestimate how much you've done.
Yes.
Because everything he has learned either by demonstration or instruction, and he has caught it.
Yeah.
So that means that he's able to even learn something else.
Else, yeah.
As long as it's repetitive,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
there's nothing more
Exactly.
repetitive than that
Than that
service.
service,
right.
Like you just know that this is the cue. Okay,
Yes.
they're done. Let me go.
Yes.
And you know, it's also not. I don't think that it's a rule that they have to be interact directly with the people there.
Right.
They can be in the back end, and
That's
it would be
right.
so organized. And people who have restaurants and stuff,
Yes.
you know how you need the back house to be organized.
Yeah.
So you need
And
people
I
like
think
Sean.
maybe the best thing for them is not actually a restaurant, an institution where
There's
students
structure.
come
Yes.
and dine.
Yeah, like a
Yes,
university,
like
like,
a
a school, a
university
secondary school, a
canteen.
cafeteria type,
Yeah.
a canteen. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the
Yeah.
best, because those are not paying clients. So whatever he does, you forgive everybody. By then will know.
Will
him.
understand,
So whatever
yes.
he does,
I think
they'll
some.
understand.
I think some of the international schools, one of them has started to do that, but on a small scale, to take in a few students. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
To take them to work in their cafeterias,
Exactly.
on the
That
compounds,
would-
and in the
that would
libraries even. So he could even do a librarian, you know.
especially
Yeah.
because it's so quiet in the
Yes.
library.
Yeah, you could
In
do a
the
library,
library,
put his
that
books
would also,
back and things like
be
that.
a
Yeah.
good way to arrange
Yeah, arrange things, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I think,
yes.
Maggie, I what I'm hearing also that is also a message for parents is you have included him in your everyday
Yeah.
life.
Yes.
Yes.
People tend to think they are incapable, that they can't do.
And
but
he has
you have
included, no, don't take credit
Yes.
of him. He
Yes,
has included himself.
Yes.
But you have
By
to-
looking for things.
But
that-
you've created the
Yes.
space. People will not create the space for them. What they tend to do is they'll create a bedroom, a room,
Like,
and
go
say,
do what
that's
you
so
want.
and yeah,
That's
and
why
put them-
he doesn't watch TV.
Yes, yeah. So
But,
you've included him,
but,
you've taken him
what is
everywhere.
interesting in the evening, my sister and I like watching Mizigo Express. I don't know if you know.
Oh,
I know
I
it,
love
yes, I
it.
love it, yes.
At 9 sharp, if you haven't changed the TV to Mizigo, he'll bring the remote and give it to you. And
It's
then
time.
and he sits to remind you that our show is.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
At 9:30, he'll walk off
Because it
and
has
go and
ended.
do
Other things, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the only show.
You are so blessed right now, because I wish you knew the way we are struggling with screens.
I know.
I want to, if you'll allow me, Maggie, to ask you to now, we've skipped to 17, but just
Yes.
kindly, for those parents who are parenting now through the teenagers,
Yes.
what are those things? What were the challenges and how did you navigate them? We've talked about, but the early years, the
early
transition
years.
from an early
early
years into
toilet
teenage.
training was
Okay.
the worst. Toilet training, but as we learned early, and that's what those are the things we gained from Australia. We would get somebody. The good thing there, the government is involved, so they would get you somebody to come and train you at home. And the best training for toilet training was if they have the same sex sibling,
Showing them.
showing them exactly. There's nothing like being shy.
True.
For them to see your stool or what. No, you get the brother to sit. When he finishes, you show him this is number 2. That's how it's.
This is
And
how
the
you
best
do
for
it.
them is the toilet. Forget about the potties and
Yes.
all that. The toilet. Then if he's still small, you
Put a
insert
seat.
a seat. But that was our biggest challenge. But it happened so quickly. He learned so quickly. Now the challenge is still, even cleaning his bottom is still a big challenge. A big challenge. So at times he will call somebody, at times he doesn't. But that was our hardest thing. But now he knows it's a toilet. So if you're taking him to a squatting thing, he will not do it. So wherever you take him, there has to be
A
toilet
toilet
seat.
for sitting.
For
So
sitting on.
that was our biggest challenge.
The early
Let's
years.
say, in the early years.
Okay.
Toilet, the good thing, we did have this head banging and all that, but then he used to break and he would break glass to eat it, to
Ooh.
chew.